Thursday, February 12th, 2026. At this point, will everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and before we turn to public comment, the superintendent would like to make a statement.
Great. Thank you, President Taylor. I'd like to make a statement. Many in our community are aware of the recent student walkout and related incident. It is important that we share clear facts, reduce misinformation, and clarify the district's role. We remain grounded in our mission to educate students and maintain safe learning environments. We do not condone violence in any form. Students, like all citizens, have protected First Amendment rights to assemble under the U.S. and state constitutions and district regulations. On Monday, February 9th, students from Issaquah High School and Issaquah Middle School participated in a student-organized walkout off campus. Like all walkouts, the event on February 9th was not school-sanctioned. District and school staff did not organize, coordinate, or participate in the student-organized and led walkout. Once our students left the campuses for Issaquah High School and Issaquah Middle School, schools cannot supervise their actions. District leadership and security staff did notify local law enforcement because the activity took place beyond school jurisdiction. The district is aware of an altercation, including 2 adults who engaged students and shared videos online. These adults have no direct connection to the Issaquah School District. At this time, the individual seen holding, pulling hair, and physically engaging with the adult in the video has not been identified as a district student. As of today, the Issaquah Police Department reports that no charges have been requested or filed related to the incident. We will continue to work closely with law enforcement. As we have been asked, schools may only discipline off-campus behavior if it disrupts our learning environments, and student discipline information is protected by law and cannot be shared. Both schools have received a high volume of offensive and threatening phone calls and emails, largely from outside our community and driven by viral social media posts. All threats are documented and reported to law enforcement. Some online narratives falsely claim that teachers organize the walkouts. That is not accurate. We will continue to encourage families to talk with their students about how to express their views peacefully and respectfully. And we will always encourage students to be in school learning, where we can provide a safe and supportive environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Superintendent. Okay, now's the time on our agenda for public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to receive public statements on items not listed on the meeting agenda for possible board action. If you have a point of view for a specific agenda item, which tonight would be monitoring report for results 2, I'll ask you to hold your comment until that particular agenda item comes up. Public comment time is not intended to raise an issue unique to a particular student, staff member, or administrator. Rather, it is your time to provide your insights on issues more generally and of a wider concern. As a general rule, the board will not respond to public comment. I ask you to begin your comments by clearly stating your name and your attendance area. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. We will be using a timer, and it is a strict 2-minute time limit, and we will cut the mic at the 2-minute timeline. The board neither endorses nor censors any opinions expressed during public comment. Please keep your comments civil and respectful and avoid any personal attacks on others. And in place of applause, you can acknowledge a speaker by lifting your hands in a waving motion. And we will start public comment with those in the room and then go to those on Zoom, if any. So let's see here. Let's begin. And the first person on my name, I have Burian Ivy. Okay. Yes. Yeah, reset the clock.
Thank you. On Monday morning, I was walking in downtown Issaquah around 10 o'clock.
First name and attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sasha and I'm a community member.
Your attendance area, please, is the request.
King. I don't know what that means.
Within the Issaquah School District, what is your attendance area, you or your students?
What school?
I'm a community member and I'm concerned about my private information. So I'm not going to share that.
So you are not a member of the Issaquah School District?
No, I am not.
Thank you.
Nope, I am not. May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you. On Monday morning, I was walking in downtown Issaquah around 10 o'clock, a time when parents trust the school district to be responsible for their children. As I walked, I came upon a protest on the steps of City Hall and the police department. I was surprised to see very young students out of school and asked one simple question: do your parents know you're out of school? As a mother, this seemed like a reasonable and appropriate question. Within seconds, I was surrounded and violently assaulted. Several students struck me and pulled my hair, drug me into the middle of the road, and desperately tried to get me on the floor. A man nearby intervened, and I latched onto him, and he helped me toward a police officer. I was shocked when the officer told me it was too dangerous for him to step in because the crowd of students was so out of control. Hundreds of students from this district's high school and middle school, students dropped off by parents that morning and entrusted to the care of the school, were instead allowed to leave school and engage in acts of violence. What happened to me was not only physically harmful, but now leaves me and my family fearful. In the days since, my husband, children, and parents have faced harassment and threats online. From what I can tell, there has been little response from the district. This incident was avoidable if the district had acted responsibly to ensure safety on February 9th for students and the public alike. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Vivian Ivy.
Hello, my name is Vivian Ivy. I'm also a community member. Need to know anything else?
Go ahead.
All right.
Are you a member of our district?
I am a community member, just as Sasha.
So not a resident of the Issaquah School District?
No.
That was the previous question.
Okay.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
no. So I was in Issaquah on the 9th. I came down to survey some people about the new tax bill that we got going on. We were walking around the park. We saw a protest. We assumed it was probably a student protest. And because I'm a documenter and I cover local legislation, local news, local politics, I decided it's within the public interest for me to walk by and document. The day before, I had interviewed a mother in Pierce County. I'll leave her private information to her, but she contacted me concerned because her child was found 2 miles away from school and she was not at all alerted by the school. This had nothing to do with Issaquah, but it's a growing trend in Washington state. I have hundreds, and now hundreds more parents concerned about the safety of their children because many of them, their children are leaving school without permission. So I decided, well, I'm going to walk past this protest and I'm going to film it. My friend here, she's not really well acquainted with protests. I am. I kind of know how they work. They can get violent very quickly, but I didn't expect this, not from school students, certainly not in Issaquah. I was complimenting how safe it is, how nice it is in Issaquah, and how much I love coming out here and eating and grabbing a drink and shopping. And all the community members are so nice. That's why Sasha and I were out here. I didn't expect that to happen. But then I could tell instantly, and I'm not trying to speak for her, but from my point of view, she seemed shocked at what she was seeing because we were seeing little tiny children. I mean, 10, 11-year-olds. And I have parents in my DMs that have identified their children at that protest that go to this district. I have students who go to this district who have identified multiple students who go to this district who were part of the assault against Sasha. I posted a video just hours ago, and anyone can find me online, conspiracookie, conspiracookie.com. Look at all my videos.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Shane Moriarty. There's no deferment. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Kurt Strickland.
Issaquah School Board, Kurt Strickland, Clark Elementary. parent of fourth generation Issaquah school district children. They're out of school now, okay? But what I witnessed from the video posted by some of these people here of students out of control on our streets and in a situation where harm could happen to them, it brought back not just that instance, but something relative, but happened 20 so years ago and covered by the Issaquah press, where a 4-year-old boy got away from his grandmother out on Newport Way and got hit violently by a truck because they didn't see it. And I'm going with these children out of control in some situations. Is there somebody wanting to have these children harmed so it will make media and their political agenda more relevant to whatever they're pushing? And I'm asking you as a school board here, are any of these teachers prompting this? This is not what we have for Issaquah. And I've been posting it, not posting, but speaking with other people. This is not what we've had here. We've had a very good community. I'm hoping you can make some decisions, all right, in terms of control. There's an old Marine Corps maxim, you can't manage what you can't control. And if you're letting these children be out when they shouldn't be, it raises a question of liability for the school district. And you're the decision makers. And I wish you well, truly do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up is Jenny Constantine.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Constantine. I am an Issaquah resident. 2 of my children graduated from the Issaquah School District. I moved to Issaquah because Issaquah had the reputation of high education, safety, and a family-oriented environment. It was disheartening to me as a proud American citizen immigrant into this country to see a behavior that is being displayed for children that come from different countries. Doesn't matter what your color skin is, your ethnicity, your background, you are here to be respectful of the home you live in, whether you're American or whether you're an immigrant. And you're here to obey the law and to be human and not think that you're above the law, that you can go and assault people and get away with it. It is disturbing to me that you will think that it's okay for my children as young as middle school, high school, to be on the streets when I gave them to you. I entrusted you, my children, to be safe, that when I dropped them off at school, they were to be at school, under your care, being protected and being safe. And that is not what I witnessed. And it's terrifying that I could be walking the streets of Issaquah, which is supposed to be a safe environment, and violence can be condoned without any consequences. And you are the people that are responsible. I am entrusting you with my tax dollar to keep my children safe.
Thank you for your comments. Next is John Maury.
Hi. First off, I'd like to thank, can you hear me? I'd like to start by saying I've lived in Issaquah since 2006. I'd like to thank you for your service as school board members. I had 2 children that graduated from Issaquah High School in 2019 and 2022. I was, like many, horrified to see the videos that came online this week with poor mom, and just glad she's okay, being assaulted by what can really only be characterized as a mob of Issaquah students from where my kids graduated. It was embarrassing to the city. It was embarrassing to me as a parent of an Issaquah High School graduate. And it was just incredibly dangerous. It was dangerous for the students and it was dangerous for the entire community. So the fact that the police who I saw on video said that they were afraid to go into that situation because it was so unsafe. This is the people that are supposed to be keeping our community safe. And Issaquah Schools created a situation where the police were afraid to go in, is just absolutely horrifying to me. So the school board, you own policies. This is a policy question that we need to figure out, that you need to figure out. And my question to you is, what policy changes will you be making to ensure that nothing like this ever happens again? And so specifically, I'm very interested in understanding what the consequences from IHS are for these students. And I understand some of this is private, but I want you to think about it. For people that are assaulting moms in the community, I'd like to know what IHS is going to do about that. You don't have to tell me, but I want you to figure it out. I want to know what consequences there are for the organizers of this, whether those are enablers and organizers, because the teachers may not have been organizing this, but we all know they were enabling it on many fronts. And I'd also like to know if Issaquah School had a policy that if you were walking out and joining a mob that resulted in suspension or expulsion, would we be here today? And I contend that we would not. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And then lastly, on our sign-up sheet is Courtney Beatty.
Hi, I'm Courtney Beatty. I teach at Skyline High School. I'm a parent of Skyline and Pine Lake, and I'm going to talk to you about something that actually has to do with what y'all do. So the whole district rollout of the process of the new humanities AP classes at Skyline has been disorganized, poorly communicated, and unclear. The out of nowhere decision to remove the integrated block model that has been at Skyline since it opened 29 years ago without any discussion with any stakeholders was indicative of this dysfunction. And the reaction to the community to this decision showed just how problematic the process was. But to be clear, the solution was also problematic. When we are looking at the solution that came up, stakeholders were not talked to, curriculum was not discussed, and the people who actually know how to blend curriculum as blocks were not consulted. A workable solution could have been to create 9th and 10th grade AP blocks at Skyline and phased out the honors classes that have already been phased out at Issaquah and Liberty High School. Instead, what we have is a convoluted, bloated, redundant menu of classes that is confusing and will be unworkable for a master schedule. While this was all done while inaccurately telling our community that AP could not be blocked due to College Board expectations that do not exist. The College Board only mandates content, not delivery. AP can be blocked, as successfully our neighbors Eastlake have shown for decades. It is concerning as a parent and a staff member that our district was at best uninformed and at worst purposefully dishonest in its communication with this decision. We as a community deserve transparency, collaboration, and answers, but more importantly, our students deserve that all of us work together to actually figure out a workable model that puts them first. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that did not sign up that would like to make public comment? Yes, please come up and state your name and attendance area at the mic.
Hello, school board and superintendent. My name is Bing Wu, and I'm a parent of a student who's currently in the Pine Lake Middle School and is going to go to the 9th grade in the Skyline High School. So I'm here actually the same topic as the lady just said. I'm glad she already said many things. I don't need to repeat. So basically, I want to just repeat what happened. January 30th, the Friday, almost 2 weeks ago, we all got an email from the principal of Skyline High School say, hey guys, we're going to add 6 more AP classes. And last year there were like 4, totally 10 AP classes, give people more options to choose from. And as part of the deal, we also want to remove the block schedule. As the lady said, the block schedule existed in the high school for almost 30 years. And then, the same day, there's a petition came up from the change.org, say, stop this, can we get the block schedule back? And actually, I'm checking this That's in, it's like 1,300 people, joined the petition. And then the Monday next week, February 2nd, I had a pleasure, talk to superintendent about the topic. And then the next day, February 3rd, the Tuesday, we got an announcement from the principal say, the block schedule resumed. And we're glad, it's resumed because people really wanted to, have that schedule for like 30 years, right? However, I think as the lady just said, the communication and the transparency really did not show up this time. And I just want to read the last few sentences from the petition. It says, we are glad, okay. Yeah, you heard my thing. Yeah, the communication and the transparency needs to be really.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, anyone else in the room? Yes, please. Come up, introduce yourself.
My name is Mark Wilson. I'm a community member with no affiliation with Issaquah School District. When you opened the meeting, the superintendent gave a statement saying that once they left campus, law enforcement was notified and reiterated the fact that staff did not help organize or participate in any of the walkouts. However, there was an email that was released from the IHS school that starts with Dear IHS Families. It outlines everything that happened that day with timestamps and an estimate of the students that were involved. And part of it says that, and I don't know if this was to make parents feel more secure with the security of their child. And it says, our administrators and school staff did not lead or participate in the event, but were present to supervise and help ensure student safety on and near campus. So I don't know if you guys need to communicate better because we now have two conflicting statements. And that's all.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Kristen, I have no affiliation with Issaquah. I'm a community member, but I would like,
please.
Kristen Ingen. I would like to say that on the wall, it says that students will live as responsible members of society. How are we supposed to have our children in your hands learn to be responsible members of society if they are allowed to go out into society and assault my friend?
Stephen, do we have anyone on Zoom? No. Okay. Thank you. That will close public comment. And we will move on. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a meeting management tool whereby the board is able to pass multiple items with one motion. The consent agenda items have been reviewed by the board prior to the meeting. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda and place it on the regular agenda for discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The consent agenda passes. Okay, moving right along. Next up is the establishment of our regular agenda. Have there been any changes to the agenda since? Okay.
There's been no changes, but there will be an update since we did get levy results reported later in the day. We'll be sharing that as part of a short PowerPoint, but we'll add that as soon as this meeting is over tomorrow.
Okay. Fantastic. Yes. Okay, and next up is works in progress. So again, I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Superintendent. Did I forget something? Oh, sorry, I did. I'm sorry. Yes. We'll get to the works in progress. Sorry. Now we are going to discuss our work study. We had a work study before the board meeting tonight, in which we were able to discuss some new data around our district and what population in the district might look like moving forward over the next many years. So I will open it up to the board for any comments they would like to make about that discussion.
I say thank you to superintendent and your team for bringing forward demographers at routine intervals. It's helpful for it. I think for me, it just reinforces the information that we got 2 years ago that showed we would have this low point in this year and next year, and then start to continue to grow as we go through. And I appreciate that the modeling shows our just consistent need for more space in our secondary schools. So thank you.
Great. Yeah, yes, Director Mullings.
Yeah, good conversation. I think it's frankly really interesting that this is a discipline that people look at all of the factors around geography overlaid with school district, overlaid with birth rates and property development and property sales and how that changes over time. It's a fascinating process to have someone walk you through. I think, again, it's good to have it at regular intervals. I think that's really helpful, and to make sure we're relooking at the size and shape of our district and how that compares to how population is moving within the county, within the state, and national trends. So again, just kind of a fascinating walk through how we even get there. I think, as you look at the growth projected in our district and talking to our city partners, particularly in Issaquah, where I know I've spent more time with Issaquah specifically over their growth plans over the next couple of decades. It's one of the partnerships I think works really well for us to have that connection and contact with how the city of Issaquah, again, that's the one I know I've worked with, is looking at their growth and how that will work with the bringing of mass transit into the area as well, and the expectation of how growth changes as we get mass transit out here into their city. So generation rates may have been like my very first board meeting 6 years ago, and I was like, what are we talking about? So I also feel super knowledgeable now 6 years later, and how different types of property have different generation rates. And so again, I think it just underscores the level of depth and thoughtfulness that goes into the planning of how we run and shape the district. And I appreciate being able to, one, understand now the conversations, but have them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Coyne.
I'll just add some quick comments. And this data is so fascinating. I think meeting with the demographer, going through the data, leaves me with so many questions. I needed more than just an hour to go through it. But I really, again, I'll echo what you heard from our other two board directors, just that, thank the district for bringing in, doing this outreach, bring this in as they think about their longer term planning, look at some of these stats. I think it's always useful. This obviously, it's data that's it's projecting, it's an estimate. So it's always good for us to ask questions and us, to be a part of that. And so again, appreciate the district, facilitating the discussion tonight. So look forward to more conversation on this topic.
And I think I'll just say again, yes, fascinating. Also very, it's tricky business. I mean, trying to look out 10 years in advance and just the sheer number of factors that go into our projections and population growth and what could impact that and how public policy decisions are going to have an impact, and as well as the birth rates, affordability, housing affordability, all of those things. But it's not just, I think, a matter of what the data shows us, but then how we choose to use it. And I think we had a good conversation about the fact that, moving forward, it's usually a good idea to look at low numbers for budgeting and to make sure that we make wise decisions and are good financial stewards of the district. But also at the same time, if looking forward, looking at high numbers potentially for facilities and things of that nature, so that if we do hit those high numbers, we make sure that we have the capacity to educate our students. So overall, great discussion. With that, do you have some comments?
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate just the way that our board engages in query and inquiry and ask questions, and it's just so thoughtful and so helpful. to ask questions of demographers and who have subject matter expertise. The discussion was great. I really want to specifically thank Mariah Banasic, who's our leader of looking at the right resources that we need to make strong projections that we then use for both long-term planning and short-term planning. So the day-to-day operations require us to really think through how we manage our budget and do expense management, which is different from how we plan for the future, which is oftentimes not as precise. But we have to sort of toggle between both the short and long-term overall as we work together. And so I really appreciate her leadership role in that effort. And then finally, I'll say that there's two, really important things to know. One is that enrollment is a challenge across this entire country and certainly in Washington State. And so the fact that we are talking about that helps us make really thoughtful decisions in the day-to-day as well as the long-term. And it's something that everyone is wrestling with right now across all school districts in this country. And we also know that we have unevenness where we have different schools with different levels of enrollment. So that's something that we have to also be thoughtful about as we, again, steward our resources on the day-to-day, but also plan for the long term. So that unevenness is something that I think, people certainly can see from our enrollment numbers, but it's something that is on my mind as well. So thank you for the discussion, and thanks again to Mariah Banasic.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is works in progress. This is an opportunity for the superintendent to provide a brief status report on things going on in the district.
Great, thank you. I'll start with our calendar of the various district community educational and heritage and cultural events for this month here in February, and just helpful to see where we are. I know that many of our students are excited about the second winter break because that's always an important time for some rest and relaxation and time to get what you need. I'll note that I'll be celebrating the Lunar New Year with my family, it's the Year of the Horse, and I'll be enjoying that time as well. So we like to make sure that people can see the wide range of ways that our community celebrates and that we recognize very important concepts and content that happens in our space in education. So I want to show that. You can pull that down and I can share some of my works in progress overall. It is information nights right now for rising ninth graders, as we actually heard from one of our speakers. That is the important thing that's happening for eighth graders, but also for any new students who might be entering the high school system here in Issaquah School District. I attended Issaquah High School's event earlier this week, and we talked about, the school members and leaders talked about the course request process, which is an important step, and sometimes we call course request process for short, with another acronym that everyone loves, CRP. It's an important step for families and students to learn about as they consider the programs and process for course registration in addition to the high school graduation requirements. At Issaquah High this week, Principal Connolly welcomed families prior to having them meet with their counselors in breakout rooms. And the new and awesome part of the welcome program, which was a very key first impression of high school for families and students, was a performance preview by the Issaquah High School Thespian Society for the spring musical Mean Girls Jr., which will be at Longman Performing Arts Center very shortly. The performance will be held March 4th through 7 in a few weeks, and that's from 7 to 9 for each of the performances. So anyone can attend, as these are performances that are open to the full public. And it was a really great and inspiring way to see and show what the high school experience can look like, in addition to, I think, a lot of the questions and of a practical matter about what courses do I take, what are the expectations, and it really brought a really strong positive impression to families and students. Also, some exciting thing, this is a historic first year of girls flag football as a sanctioned WIAA sport. And all 3 of our comprehensive high schools have shined. 172 girls participated this year from across the district. All 3 high school teams have qualified for the state championship Final Four, which is happening this weekend, for a chance to win the first ever WIAA state title in flag football. We have schools competing in the same division, as well as a singular school competing in another division. So I'm wondering what the matchup might be in the finals, but we will see, and we will be cheering on all of our athletes in that regard. So just thank you to our incredible athletics and activities director, Jordan Frost, our athletic directors across the buildings, building leadership, our coaches, and our operations teams for making sure that all of our high schools could launch this effort and be supported in their endeavors. Strategic plan work and refresh is happening. As a reminder, our strategic plan runs a 3-year cycle. And so while we're in the 3rd year of the first ever strategic plan for the district, we're also planning for next year. And just some high level reflections that we've been sharing as we are working to do further work on this with our schools and our community are just some reflections and insights over the past couple of years. So the first and foremost is that we should really think about how we focus through fewer strategies. So a prioritized set of high impact strategies that can be measured is an important value moving into the next stage. Thinking through what the appropriate grain size is, meaning what's the right level of scope and scale of the impact for the different strategies. We also want to move away from technical to adaptive strategies, thinking through about the long-term work that we have ahead of us. And we did have a lot of technical pieces that kind of came up because it was our first time doing a strategic plan. So part of that was a bit of like cleanup, the things that had been on everyone's list of like, if we could just do X, right? So I think we're moving past that, and that work of technical change and improvement is just part of the natural cadence of our continuous improvement cycle. And we do want to make sure we're looking at the longer term and thinking through what are the short-term aspects of our work that need to be put in place to have adaptive change. Really recentering the work on the instructional core and ensuring that the district is creating the kinds of positive conditions and removing barriers to support what happens daily in classrooms and across each of our learning sites. And finally, equity engagement is tied hand in hand, and that is truly cross-cutting. So as we had continued to weave equity work throughout the strategic plan, we want to treat equity engagement as a combined set of concepts that are treated throughout the entire next version of a strategic plan. So just some things that we're thinking about. We are also, as we are coming out of the levy, which we'll talk about shortly as an agenda item, constantly thinking about how our world is evolving. I know this board has been really eager to understand the changing world and landscape, and that's something that our district and our district leaders, our teachers, our students, our family members, our community members are wrestling with. And so as I consider the strategic planning process, as well as the rapid changes in our world, I do want to reconsider how we do our work differently at a district level specifically, and that we are aligning our people and our resources in ways that are truly going to meet the needs of our students, our families, and our teachers in schools. I do hope everyone has a productive and relaxing winter break. I know that I'm looking forward to that myself.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next up on our agenda is a discussion of the 2026 levies. The administration will update the board on the EP&O, capital projects, and school bus levies.
Before we welcome up Mark Sherwood to the podium and Martin Turney, I just want to say I feel so grateful to our community and to our voters for stepping forward and stepping up to be engaged in the process, as well as to help us with the passage of 3 propositions. Mathematically, that's where we are, and I just want to say that I just say thank you. We have pushed out communications as of this afternoon through our school bulletins with that sort of overview of where we are, and I think that's just important to get out that information. We did wait a couple of days because we want to make sure we're always, cognizant of the way votes have to be coming in and counted, but because of the math as it is today, we feel very clear about where we are. And again, thank you to our community. Thank you to the incredible work of all of our team members and our volunteers in Issaquah schools. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent and Board. Mark Sherwood, Executive Director of Communications. And I'll just echo the Superintendent's sentiments, thanking everybody, the support from the board, student reps, teachers, every educator, support staff member. Everybody knew the importance of this, and we're all pushing out factual information and trying to redirect when there's misinformation out there. So I definitely want to give a big thanks to them. And there's a lot of community partners too. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out to my team and my fellow peer members that kind of worked on this levy. They worked a lot of extra hours on this levy campaign. I'm going to go to the next slide to kind of show the results. As you can see right now, mathematically, the latest results came out this morning. 23,000 out of 24,000 ballots have been counted. So the majority of the ballots have been counted. We on election night, we were on the EP&O, we were at 51.5%, a little over 54%. And you can see that's probably going to be a trajectory that it'll probably surpass where we were in 2022 when we actually certified this election on February 20th. Same thing for when we look at the capital levy, where we had election night 51.5 roughly, 53.75 today. And it's definitely already surpassing what we did in 2022. Transportation certainly is not going to surpass probably in our 2022 of 62.28%, but at 55.28, you can see all of these levies were pretty consistent in terms of the types of numbers and in terms of the approval rating. So again, this will be certified on February 20th, but we're all feeling pretty confident that this will be certified and be approved and continue to keep the thing stable for our students. So I don't know if you have any questions specific to this, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Turney.
Any questions? At this point,
Pretty straightforward data.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Don't walk away. All right, so now we can talk about some next steps. So before we do, it may have been said, but because I spent so much time with the Levy Advisory Committee, I wanted to give them a special shout out too. A lot of work went into that, so appreciate all the folks that served. So next steps, right? So we're going to continue working on budget development and aligning here. Make sure it aligns with student needs, enrollment trends, and community conditions, obviously. Finding opportunities for efficiency while meeting those levy expectations. Very important part about this. We want to keep showing how those levy dollars are at work. And thoughtful expense management, as we do every year and throughout the year. We want to make sure we're making thoughtful decisions there. Accountability and transparency, providing regular updates. We have, among other things, we have a capital projects oversight committee. I know that they're going to be reviewing the critical repairs lists and the priorities as we go along and do those projects. Sharing that clear, accurate information with the community and families. And we will continue to present here at the board meetings as well. We will continue community engagement. Looking at hosting annual levy update information sessions, partnering with PTSAs and community organizations, and promoting open dialogue and thoughtful questions. So again, just keeping this alive, making sure people know where those levy dollars are at work, and we're being transparent. So, thank you.
Any questions? Director Gallinger.
I appreciate all the work both your teams have done to get these across the finish line. And yes, thank you to our community. My question is, as you look to do the reporting to us for the 2026 capital levy, there were a lot of very significant projects on that levy, more so that have been in past years that we did in response to feedback we got after the bond.
Sure.
So I would really like you guys to probably make an adjustment for how those reporting are done on our website, as well as to us, for highlighting a lot of those very big projects at our high schools that are also going to be very visible. Vestibules, roof replacements, field improvements, things like that, so that we have visibility on that, because we will get asked a lot about what's the time frame. And so it'd be great if we could, one, answer the question, and two, be able to point them to where that will live. Versus normally in the cadence for a capital levy, we wouldn't hear or see updates for a couple years into it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I think as you guys get those sort of timelines settled, we would like to be able to have that more visible and published ahead of time.
Great. That's great feedback. And I know our comms team has some ideas on how to display that on the website and have things a little bit more dynamic.
Director Mullings.
Very excited. Thank you. Great update. I actually just really appreciate seeing the performance versus previous elections. Just today, I was seeing some maybe messages that the reality was to the contrary of that. So I think it's a very positive sign to see that those numbers of support, while I'd love for them to be higher, I think in general, they should just be 100%. I think it is important to be very clear that those numbers are outperforming previous times we've been on the ballot. So thank you for sharing that, because I just heard that today.
Yeah, that's a great point, because to get in the mid 50s in spite of a really aggressive misinformation campaign, that's funded really inappropriately by community leaders and other parts of our local governments is really problematic. And in spite of that, I think it will continue to show that our community will get past these just blight of misinformation that is spread across our community. And I think the thought that they maybe could sleep better at night by saying like, oh, well, we're only coming out against one of them, that the community would only choose to only vote against one of them. When the reality is they would be fine with them voting down all of them. And that's what we saw, very consistent passage rates across like gaps of like 200 votes, which are showing that people are pretty much voting in general, oh yes, or oh no.
Dr. Coyne.
I want to echo what others have said. And obviously, thank you both. Thank the district and really thank our community. Thank you, for your support of our renewal levies. I would be remiss if I didn't reflect on the fact, though, that I was hopeful that that passage rate would be higher. I compared it obviously to other districts in King County. And I think my takeaway from that, as I've said before, is I want to continue to expand upon members of our community to have a more positive view of our schools, to become raving fans of the Issaquah School District. I think we need more people really looking at our schools in a positive light. I will say when I look at this, it is hard, especially to have those low, to have those numbers again, very appreciative of where they're at. But one of the reasons, well, really the key reason that my wife and I moved to this area was because of the schools and because we wanted to live in a community that supports education and supports schools. So it almost feels like I'm in kind of an odd place seeing that, because there's been such a level of misinformation out there that I think is unfortunately kind of hurting how people view the district. And I would just, again, first and foremost, want to thank our community, but I also want to, those folks that maybe were questioning, supporting our levies, questioning the school system, to maybe think differently, to ask questions, to learn more about our schools, because there's some amazing things that are happening in the Issaquah School District. And I'm so hopeful for all the things that we're going to continue to share more broadly with the community, particularly the outreach, Mark, you and your team have done with members of our community that don't currently have kids in our district. I think that has been exceptional. The transparency that has been put in place with the Capital Projects Committee, and just the broader outreach we're doing. Those are all things we want to continue to lift. And I think that for those community members that are already fans of the Issaquah School District, really asking them to continue to promote that, because we need more folks really supporting education, because it's really important. Thanks.
Director Gallagher.
And to that point, I think that also in addition to having the capital projects show, like, these were all the things on the levy and these are all the projects here, because there was misinformation about, oh, they're going to go use it for something else. I think we probably also need in the fact guide to show this was all part of the educational programs and operations levy, and a one-page summary, like, these are all the things that were part of it. And here, 100% of the things are here and could be cross-referenced through all the different parts of our budget in that descriptive guide. Because I think that will just go forward. So then 4 years from now, because yes, again from now, we can tell you in 2030, there's going to be another levy in case people are wondering, we're going to have another one in 4 years. So again, the answer is yes. But that we can say, like, look, this was a concern of misinformation that was brought up. And here's year by year that every single year we said this, we did this. That's super important. None of us, or the previous people who were at this dais, wanted to make any sort of budgetary moves that we made 4 years ago. Like, no one finds joy in having to do reductions in force. No one. But what we did then, we would do again today, I suspect, because that has put the district in such strong financial footing that where we are today, when we can focus on leveraging funding for equity to serve the students of highest need and to expand programming offerings, versus we have a neighboring district that is in binding conditions, which means the state is one step away from taking over and we're like nearly identical size. So those were really hard decisions, not fun. But if we had to do it again, absolutely, because we are positioned to be able to serve students in a so much better way than we otherwise would be.
Okay, I will just say again, also thank you for all the great work that the district did. I'd also be remiss without also thanking the folks at Volunteers for Issaquah Schools who just really put on a tireless campaign this time. We're out in the community talking to folks and evangelizing and really spreading the word of the importance of these levies. So thank you to that organization as well. And folks have heard me talking often, all the time, too much maybe, about just how crucial these levies are to our funding in a time of a very challenging state funding environment that we're in. So a thank you to the community for understanding the need for these levies and all the great work that the district can now do with the money that they will provide. So just overall, very happy with our result. Any comments, Superintendent? Any more comments, I should say?
I'll also say thank you to the board because you play that key role in advocacy and representing the community, and you approve putting something on the ballot. So thank you also to the board. And just while Martin and Mark are here, just want to say thank you very much for your leadership. We also had other team members that were out there doing lots of presentations, Jacqueline Downey, Marcel Hauser for playing a project management role, as well as Wendy Castleman and Mariah Ben-Asic. So we've done by the numbers before about how many presentations we were at and or joined by. And so I just want to really thank our team, exceptional work, and all of our building leaders and administrators who also held information sessions with their team members across the district at school sites was also tremendous. So it was a true team effort, and just thank you.
All righty. Okay, I think that's a wrap. Moving on, next up on our agenda is the monitoring reports for results 2, academics and foundations. Maybe we can start with a motion.
I move the board accept the monitoring report for results 2, academics and foundations R2 as presented.
A second.
And I think we will have a presentation from the administration and then followed by public comment if we have any. I'll turn it over.
Great, thank you. But as Dr. Downey and Rich Mellish join us up here at the podium, I just want to share 2 things about results 2 and the monitoring report here. And again, the monitoring reports for our results are about progress toward, which is different from operational expectations, which is a little bit more binary and sort of how we look at the content and evidence. But we've got a great story building off of what Director Coyne said. We've got a lot of things to celebrate. We've got incredible results. Yes, there are things we can always be working on, but coming off of that levy conversation, it's really important to highlight our students are doing really well, and our staff are the primary drivers of helping to support them in partnership with our families. So we've shown consistently positive efforts to sustain a high level of excellence, but also we're really starting to move the needle on opportunity gaps. And so the real question before us is how we continue to maintain that level of excellence and continue to address achievement gaps. So that is what we're focusing on, and that is very much the spirit of equity and access as well. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Downey.
Thank you, Superintendent. We are excited to share tonight's Results 2 report, which shows that our district continues to perform at a high level overall, while also making measurable progress on one of the most important priorities, closing opportunity gaps. This report connects directly to our strategic plan and our school improvement efforts across elementary, middle, and high school.
At the elementary level, student performance on state math and literacy assessments remain strong. On the Smarter Balanced Assessment, 3rd through 5th grade math and literacy results continue to perform at or above most peer districts and well above the state average, reflecting steady implementation of our elementary curriculum and targeted supports. At the middle school level, we see solid performance in both ELA and math SBA results, along with consistently high percentage of students earning B- or better grades in math courses. Middle school course performance shows that most students are mastering standards for their grade level, and our MTSS intervention structures are helping more students stay on track. At the high school level, several leading indicators remain strong. Ninth grade passing all classes, an indicator of on track to graduation, remains above state averages. Algebra B- or better rates have improved compared to prior years following course redesign and added supports. And four-year graduation and continuation rates are among the highest in the state for districts with multiple schools.
Most notably, this report shows clear opportunity gap closure in graduation and continuation rates over 3 years, sustained improvement. Gaps have narrowed substantially for our BIPOC student group, low-income students, and students with disabilities. This is an important proof point. With focused strategy, aligned supports, and consistent monitoring, gap closure is possible at scale. This also shows that in the Issaquah School District, students are receiving intentional instruction and support from our incredible teachers and staff in partnership with hard work and commitment from families, community partners, and of course, students, such that all students, inclusive of all identity markers, can succeed and graduate from high school. Moving forward, we seek to replicate this gap closure success across all measures. While we celebrate these gains we've outlined, the report is also clear that disproportionality still exists across several academic indicators, including course grades, assessment results, and advanced course participation. Teaching and learning has changed over the past 10 years. To reach every student every day, our system must be designed for learner variability from the start. Our instructional pathway forward centers on universal design for learning, inclusionary practices, and multi-tiered systems of support. These approaches strengthen core instruction, expand access to grade-level learning for all students, and ensure timely evidence-based intervention matched to student need.
These practices are already contributing to gains in early literacy, math intervention, ninth grade on-track outcomes, and graduation rates. Our commitment now is to systematize and scale this work so that gap closing progress is not isolated to a few measures, but becomes consistent across our academic system. In summary, this Results 2 report shows strong overall performance, credible and measurable progress in closing opportunity gaps, and a clear instructional direction to accelerate equitable academic preparedness for every student.
And we are prepared to take your questions.
Are there any questions? I thought maybe we would start with our students. With any insights or public comment. I hold that thought. Do we have anybody online? Anybody in the room for public comment? Okay, hearing none. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments from students. I'll open it up for the board. Director Gallinger.
I'll just say that, it's pretty crazy that for 8th grade math, performance is almost twice of what the state average is, which almost doubling 38% for what our 8th graders are performing. To what Director Coyne has said, like, there's so much negativity about public education, and yet, like, our students and our teachers are just hitting home runs. And for the community, this is the investment. The investment in our levy dollars is smaller class sizes, updated curriculum, professional development to ensure that our students and teachers are ready to embrace that new curriculum. And then looking at it through the lens of equity so that all students, no matter what you look like, are able to access the curriculum and be successful in it. And so I just love that this is really a culmination, and I think should be looked at as a moment of celebration, because in so many of this, to your point, Superintendent, is we look at it as such binary of like, wow, we could always do better. And yet I think we probably need to pause more and say, there's some really amazing things that are happening that it's like, we're not even playing by the same playbook as the rest of the state. So thank you to Superintendent and your team and all that's represented here, because, and to our community, this is where your dollars go. And it really, really shows in the results. So thank you.
Director Coyne.
I want to second what Director Gallinger said, and I just want to pull up page 8 on the monitoring report again. And I remember when I first saw our graduation rates, I asked the question, so now what? Because I'm not really sure we can do better than that. And I remember the district said, well, celebrate. And that's really what we need to do. I think we need to, as a community, really lean in and really realize like, wow, this is absolutely incredible, and recognize this. Again, this goes back to, I think, any of us who have had kids who have gone through this system. And I know that, you know, for those of us that have had students that have gone all the way through, I think about my son who's now in college, and he was so incredibly prepared. And I attribute so much of that to the Issaquah School District at all levels of his education. And I think, yes, there are always areas for improvement, and there are questions that we've all had, and there's questions I know that many of us, you know, probably still have tonight. But I want us to really focus in on this. And again, thinking about the Issaquah School District in a really positive light, because it is doing some amazing things. And for those folks that are thinking otherwise, for those folks that understand this data and are fans of our district, I want them to tell others these results are incredible.
Director Mullings.
Thank you for the report. Again, I mean, the results are fantastic. What I appreciate about this report, this version, I guess, of the report, is I do think we're taking a little bit more time to do some comparisons, so we know how we compare to state, as we've talked about how we've compared to neighboring districts as an example. And I think that's important, because one of the things that grinds my gears about some of the misinformation about our school district is this disingenuous application of poor performance and national trend information, and hanging on that as truth, while not recognizing that we are absolutely operating in a different paradigm from those national statistics, that we have continued to outperform all of the peer statistics. And so I think as we look at how, again, I love the fan comment, that's something we really have to break through. Like we cannot talk about Issaquah School District in the same breath with national, not even statewide trends and results, because we are not in the same category. And to achieve that, we make different investments. And so when those who would say, why do you need those big fancy schools, or why do you need that big fancy administration building, is because we're getting big fancy results. And I am exhausted by this rhetoric of overlaying the performance of states at the bottom of our educational system with what we are doing here. And each and every one of the adults who intentionally does that, funds that, shares that, knows they are doing it. And it is maddening to me. So I just want to say, when we look at how and why we invest in the infrastructure of our schools, in the amount of students in our schools, in the teacher ratios, in the counselor ratios, and do we have to adjust those over time? Sure. Do we have to adjust to all of the unusual things that have come our way, at least even over only my last 6 years? Yes. But we have to change the conversation to look at the results, the actual mathematical results of this district and how they compare to other places. And any adult who continues to peddle the misinformation to the contrary is doing it purposefully, and they are disingenuous.
Milo.
I just had one quick question, but I just also wanted to say that I love the report, and I really like the focus on early intervention in our school district. I think that's been something that we've been really pushing recently, and I know I grilled Jacqueline on about it earlier. And so just thought I would highlight that. My question was on kind of the end of page 6 and the start of page 7. We were talking about the disproportionate outcomes and them being persistent. And I was curious because on one of the bullet points for the things that we're doing, it said we are providing intervention staff to Issaquah High School. And I was curious if, because that was the only one that came up, if it was any other schools that we had added to. I mean, I know we have. I just wanted to know, like, clarifying if it was purposeful that we just put Issaquah High School there or if there was more to that. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a great question. And I want to start off by acknowledging back, Milo, your interest in early childhood education is lovely. So, yes, we engage in equity-based budgeting through the process that's been discussed here. Also, some of our funds are geared towards gap closure that we get from the state or from the federal government. And so based on our data showing where there is the most need for gap closure, that's where those resources get allocated. So that was the example to Issaquah High.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other comments. I'm going to make a few comments. Oh, you? No? Okay. Yeah, just a few comments I wanted to make as well. You know, in a high performing district, it's incredibly difficult to move numbers forward. But yet across the entire report, again, I've said this in other contexts, but these numbers just jump off the page. It's really pleasing. You said you were pleased. You should be pleased by the results. They're just fantastic. And one little anecdote, I was having coffee actually with a board member from a neighboring school district, and he was just envious of the graduation rates that he saw in the report. So I think that's a good indicator that you're definitely doing something right. But at the same time, I do want to acknowledge that it came through the report to me that the district is very much not satisfied with areas where it sees disproportionality, and then we have to continue to work in those areas. And I'm confident that we will, and I know that planning continues to do that. So that was great too. Couple of things, minor things I wanted to comment on. It was noted in the report of the high fail rates in US and world history, which pains me greatly being a history major throughout my entire academic career. But I really think it's incredibly wise, the plans to introduce more curriculum with differing histories of differing peoples that allow students from all kinds of different backgrounds to try to engage in those stories and that history as an opportunity to excel in that discipline. So that really stood out to me. And then I did have a question, which there is a note that math interventions are particularly difficult or present a unique challenge. Just wondering if I could get some more commentary as to what those challenges are exactly, or and how we try to plan for math interventions versus different types of interventions.
Oh, boy.
Small
That's like a thesis question. So let me try to keep
You
it.
can give me the executive.
The super high level. All interventions are approached with a great deal of passion and interest and complexity, because every student is a complex learner and an individual. So I don't want to say that it's like easy to do literacy intervention, but I think the challenge that we constantly have when it comes to curriculum-based interventions is that math is incredibly linear and marches on, whereas in the language arts, we do a lot of spiraling back on concepts and skills. And so one of the big challenges that we face, and I think there's we're really looking at some really great evidence-based ways to approach this, is how do you make sure that you can continue on complex grade level content while still backfilling the disfluencies that students who struggle with math tend to have. So if I'm struggling with multiplication, but I'm solving multi-step multiplication problems and then moving on to the next chapter while I'm still building my multiplication fluencies, it presents a different challenge than we see in literacy. So it just means that we need to structure things a little bit differently, and we need to think about how we scaffold and keep students involved in grade level learning in mathematics while they're still building those mathematical fluencies.
Okay, thank you. And then one last comment. I just want to completely agree with everything Director Mullings just said about there seems to be an assumption that these results are guaranteed, that if we fund a public school system, you get these great results. And it's just obviously not true, that there's so much thought and talent and resources that went in that are provided in this district that create these results. And I just want the community, if you ever need proof of that, then pick up this report, pick up results 2 and look at the progress that's being made. And also to Director Mulling's point, how we compare across the entire state and with our neighboring districts. So just fully concur with what Director Mulling said. Director Gallinger.
We started this off and appropriately so acknowledging all the amazing things about that we see here. I want to say 2 things to start. One, we've talked about this in work study for 2 hours before this, so this may be more abbreviated than it otherwise would be. But in page 17, the bottom, I think I would like to see internal consistency. And so you spend a lot of time in the narrative talking about how B- what B- or higher represents. And then when a report then includes a plopped in table of C- and above, I would request that there's internal consistency, that either stick with one or stick with the other. So that's just a housekeeping commentary. 2, under the graduation thing. So we have had various iterations of this report based on what the collection of the 5 up here want. And I understand that that always changes, and I appreciate your flexibility. But I think I would like to see linked to link outs to what our SAT data is. I understand why I think AP is less relevant to me, because not every student takes it and whatnot. But I think most of our students take an SAT score or ACT score, choose one. I don't care, choose one, choose both. But why I think it's relevant to me is we're talking about all these amazing things that our students and teachers are doing. And I think that just further bolsters, like, this isn't like, there isn't grade inflation here in our school district. I would argue that there's probably grade deflation compared to what you then see nationally in norm tests, where the average in our high schools is crazy. So I think having those linked out would be really helpful, so that way if community wants to look at it, they're seeing, like, it's not just here are how our students are performing in district and with state-based assessments, but nationally and a national norm test, they're out there just way outperforming their peers. So I think that's an important thing, just to provide that context. And then my specific questions are in the table that talks about our science classes and for biology. I would love to hear what the thoughts are on why our student performance in our biology classes in high school is far lower than I would expect. Of any core class that I would say a person taking biology in general, a freshman, takes in our high schools, it's the lowest percentage of students at the level that you would say is like exceeding expectations compared to any other core subject.
We've noticed this as well, like in our regular data studies, alongside principals and our principal PD, as we're looking at data and progress monitoring. And one of the theories that's come about is the level of language that is in the biology curriculum. A lot of that really technical and specific content-driven terminology can be challenging. Also, it is a 9th grade course largely, and so that is a challenging transition year. So you have both the content challenge and just the load of high school all at once. So it is something we're continuing to look at.
And this is what I would say, this is the challenge about being in a district like this, where the standards are so high as far as like what our biology teachers and how they're teaching are not the same as what they're doing in our high schools versus other districts. So what I worry is that, and I know it's a fine balance, but if that's the entry level science course for most of our high school students, like what percentage of students are we turning off to science right away, that they walk out of that class being like, oh, I'm not good at science, so I'm gonna prematurely close a door. And so I guess I would love to see some greater exploration and explanation a year from now when we see this report. So hopefully this captured in our notes about biology, because I don't want doors closed as a 9th grader. I mean, at any grade, but certainly not as a 9th grader. And that's, so I think that there should be special attention to that, because if we saw that in our math, like why we're specifically reporting on Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 is because we had these concerns about those being classes that we don't want our students to be like, oh, I'm not good at math, or So
Yeah.
that would be my request about that.
Thank you. Noted.
But hey, sorry, I didn't have my microphone on.
I just wanted to talk quickly about what I saw about, because I saw that the world history and US history were some of the highest fail rates. And I know, take this with a grain of salt because I tend to not do as well in history and stuff. But I've seen in at least in Skyline in some of the on-level US history courses that I'm taking this year, I've seen a large amount of like just out of school content that I wouldn't expect necessarily from courses that are generally on-level courses meant to take a little bit less of your time. Like people are spending like hours on these history projects and history homework that people aren't even doing in their college level STEM courses at Skyline at least. And I just wonder, like, I know that like maybe the history needs that more of that rigor to better comprehend the content, but it just generally feels like sometimes there's a mismatch between the amount of homework assigned in STEM classes and then the amount of homework assigned in humanities classes, specifically in this case on-level US history, which might be causing some of this higher fail rate because people might have less time and not be able to really complete all of that work, because like it's like sometimes it can be hours at a time. And yeah.
Director Coyne.
Thank you. Two quick things, and I know my board colleagues are going to laugh because I'm going to go back to page 10 on the senior exit survey. I find this data useful, and I know we're not getting this from all of our high school students. And so I would love to see if we could get a higher participation rate across all high schools. And it's interesting because I received some feedback when we had our work study conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I had brought this up. And I think an interesting point with this too is probably framing the survey too, in the sense that I think the feedback I've received is kids aren't always proud about that next step. And so they don't feel comfortable necessarily completing the survey or telling the truth. And I think that there's a way to maybe frame it in a very positive way. And so maybe I would just throw that back to the district because this data is very useful. I mean, I think it's really helpful, but when we look at it and we say, oh, well, only 7 kids are deciding to go to trade school, I'm sure that that's higher, or they're considering it. Maybe they haven't committed to that for their, the year after graduation, but I would just love to see more here because I know that this also, we look at when the district, I know, is making programming decisions, this type of feedback is useful. That would be my comment there. And then I'm going to go back. I know we've talked about this. Director Taylor mentioned it. Viday just mentioned it too. But it did stand out to me. So page 23, world history and US history, highest fail rates. I was reading that last night, and I absolutely loved history when I was in high school. And so that I was surprised by that. And I guess I know that the report talks about the district is looking at ways to engage students in a more positive light. And we, as members of the school board, I know all of us get questions from community members around civics and history and the importance of that. And when we see that this fail rate is so high, that is concerning to me. So I guess I'm curious when we think about some of the things that the district is doing to kind of re-engage students in that space. I don't know if you have some higher level themes maybe you could share with us just to give us a perspective on that.
Yeah, probably easiest is the world history course. The standard level world history course is in its second year of implementation with a new curricula and a new course design. And they're still meeting multiple times a year with the entire instructional team to look at the data, look at how students are doing, and say, how are we tweaking this course? So some of the things they did is a little bit more project-based, a little bit more thematic-based, so that a lot more very explicit and intentional ties to their modern world experience, because we're talking about ancient and medieval history, or we're talking about not modern world history here. So it's things that don't have in students' mind always looking at it and saying, oh, that is perfectly relevant to me today. So really working to say how these themes actually project into the world of today. So and then of course also making sure that we got materials that were more representative of our student population and our world population. The World History 3 course of old is now Global Studies and is very focused on modern global issues. So to really look at the current world challenges of today. So to really make that a super high engagement curriculum. And so then the US history, they're selecting a curriculum right now. They're in that process, and we'll go through that same kind of course design with the idea of how do we engage students, apply universal design principles, and make sure that it's accessible and relevant to our students. It's really fun work to see social studies teachers working together that way because they are passionate about their subject and they really want kids to be successful. So, and we're relentlessly looking at the data. Every time they come together, we look at the most recent grades, the most recent outcomes, and say, are we making progress? And are we making progress across demographic groups?
That's great. Thank you.
Director Gallinger?
Going near the end of the report, so I wanted just to sort of kick off any sort of potential dialogue about 2.9, because that's a recently adjusted one where it says students will understand and apply current and emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. And I know near the end of that section or subsection, there's bulleted comments about that. I think it would be helpful for me as a board member and as a parent. I don't get a sense that the district has staked the position on that. And just starting with that, I know there will be so much more professional development and a lot of just-in-time learning, but I think there's a really unevenness across our district and across subject areas. There are some classes and teachers that are absolutely like, you can't use AI for anything, it's bad. And then some are like, oh, you can use it for this. So it'd be great for there to get to a standard, because I don't think it's binary of AI is bad or AI is good. I think ultimately we want AI to be a tool that our students learn how to use, but they're not going to learn how to use it if the position of a lot of our teachers are AI is bad. And so it would be really great if there were just some baseline parameters that were established soon on like, here's where you could consider using it, or here's how you can consider using it, and here's where you shouldn't be using it. And here's where we as professional educators have a problem with. I think just trying to get all of our teaching staff onto the same page would be helpful for all of our students. And I know that whatever that framing is will change and evolve, but right now it seems like there needs to be a little bit more, I think, central guidance, because although we care about equitable opportunities, and right now our students are having widely variable, I think, approaches to that. That is probably too variable. At least that's my personal opinion and watching my lived experiences. So I don't know what other people's thoughts are on
I
that.
agree. I really think we should be looking at it as net positive. I mean, it's the future. It's the skill sets that we're all going to have to develop. And I really like the suggestion you bring up, Director Gallinger, about in my work at Microsoft, I get an email every week at the beginning of the weeks. Essentially, here's all the ways that you could be using AI in your work. If you thought about using it this way or that way, or this would be a benefit to you or a way to build efficiency. So I fully support that. I do hope that our messaging is, like I said, a net good, and that we can drive to that. Director Mullings.
I think I have two sets of thoughts. One is on what is the guidance on where students should not be using AI is interesting, right? That's one. And then the other is this last bullet here about teachers including collaborative tools and lesson activity. So I think on the first one, I agree. There's probably an opportunity to improve the consistency of what the message is or the why behind it, because AI is a lot of things. It shows up in a lot of ways. I feel that what I at least see with my student is it's more about, maybe it's the courses he has, but it's more about document checking. Like, does the document include known pieces that are found someplace on the internet or wherever to say that it's enhanced with AI? I don't know that that's the most productive check, especially in documents full of quotes and other things. So I don't know that the why is super clear of like, why do we not want students to use it in this way? Because of some reason, and therefore something will happen. So I think that's part of it. I think there's sort of a reaction of, because of the amount of AI we know, and I think what a lot of people think is like the document editing side of it, go off, crawl for information, put it in my document. That's just a very small piece, even if our own kids are using it. So I think there's a better message on like, what am I concerned about? And telling the kids that, like, do you actually know the information? How do you demonstrate it? Can you create something with the information you found? So I just think we have to kind of change how we're thinking about it. And so that's why this last bullet I really liked, which is teachers include collaborative tools and lesson activities to expand students' authentic real world learning experiences. My hope is that that's the piece that's leading us to how the actual delivery of educating changes because we have the access to AI. And the best example I've heard in the last several months is, math changed, how we deliver math changed when kids got calculators. So what is the corollary change? Where there has to be a different engagement model because of the access to AI, because I can look farther, look through more data sources more quickly, because I can leverage that, then what does the actual delivery change to? And so I hope both of those sides can be true. One is that we can get more clear on what are we hoping students will or won't do, because frankly, our current AI checkers that a lot of teachers are using is, I could have done the same thing with Encyclopedia Britannica 40 years ago. Like, what do I pick up and can you catch that it was straight out of Encyclopedia Britannica? It's a very, it's not a very sophisticated check. The answer is yes, they have used AI to search the internet. Like, so what are we really doing? But on the other side is where I'm hoping that the conversation is moving to what is the actual delivery and experience of education with AI as a given. That's what I feel like we have to move to pretty quickly, because of course they can do all these other things. So let's not spend our energy trying to catch them doing it, because they are doing it. It's fact. So those are my thoughts on the last one.
And and just one other related point. I think part of it is also we have to let our staff catch up, right? They have to learn the technology in order to talk to the benefits of it. And just one more plug for our levies. As part of our technology levy, there's money now for training for staff. So I hope we're mindful about that.
Yeah, and I know you have a student comment to get to, but that's my point is, I think though the quote, let teachers catch up, part of it is I think the district needs to probably like plant their flag in the ground on, hey, here's what we're going to center on, just so there's some consistency. Like when there are teachers at Skyline who make students do timed writes because they don't want them at home, they're worried that they might do something on AI. Like that's not the right reason to do a timed write. There are purposes for why you would do a timed write. That's not one of them. So, but in the absence of guidance, there's a vacuum that teachers are making their own interpretation. But while this point is reasonable progress a year from now, because things are going so fast, teachers getting in the way of students learning how to use AI as a tool, like bullet 3 of the interpretation, will be not true. And that's why I'm having this conversation now, so that there's an understood reflection on what needs, like we here are saying the rapid pace of change, we have to stay on that leading edge of it for our students' sake, because we don't want them at a disadvantage at any point in any place where they go next after our district. Sorry, I know you have a student comment.
Rex, please.
Hello, yes. I wanted to say similarly to Milo, this report is great. I was looking at both the SBA test scores. Not that a test score is comprehensive of our students' understanding, but I think it's a very good place to start, seeing that we're double in ELA at the level 4 scores to the Washington State level, and then 10% over double the level 4 scores of Washington State test takers. I think that's incredible. My one question was on page 34 about the enrollments and science courses. I was looking at the top additional courses selected from the 2024 to 2025 school year, and I was wondering why the sports medicine classes weren't included for Issaquah High School, Liberty High School, and Skyline High School, because just from my understanding, I know that there are, I think, 7 periods of sports med, at least at Issaquah High School, 2 of the advanced and 5 of the intro. I was just wondering why those didn't make it on the report as well.
That is a great question. And more the way that our data system is set up, that we categorize courses in one of about 12 categories. And so some of our CTE courses have been categorized in some of the career exploration areas. And so the sports medicine has been more in there. But a lot of the CTE courses have very strong science components. So you're not wrong that there are actually additional courses that are very science heavy that might be more frequently accessed than some of the ones on this list. And sports medicine absolutely is one of those.
Director Coyne.
I'm going to go back to AI. I want to elevate a couple things that were brought up. So to Director Gallinger's point around increasing greater adoption, and I want to just give the perspective of the person maybe up here on the dais who is probably more afraid of AI and like starting to be introduced. I am also in an industry that's playing catch up with AI. And so I get it. And I get where some of our educators would be a little worried about it too. But Director Taylor, you said something that was brilliant. And I think you work at Microsoft, so it's just natural. You said on Monday mornings, you get an email that says, here are ways you can use AI. That's probably just common at Microsoft. So brilliant. I just wrote a note. I'm going to talk to my director of AI at work and say, please generate something like that. So
I apologize for creating that.
Yes,
gentleman.
more work.
A bunch of work.
But I think there's this sense of fear. And there's also this sense of how do I use it? So give me some ideas that would be approved ideas where I'm not going to suddenly get in trouble or, God forbid, lose my job by using something. So, I wonder, I just want to elevate that because maybe that's an idea for the district too. Because it was like a light bulb moment for me. Like, that's so basic. Why aren't we giving, sending out ideas like that? Because I think we're all hungry for that. We want to use it in productive ways. Yeah. And that would be a great idea. So thank you for sharing that.
The key is you have to do the things in the email when it comes to you.
Yeah. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Ava.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit based on what we've discussed. I'll start with AI, look at some stats, and then I have some questions. Starting with AI, I definitely echo the sentiment that the essays going through like Turnitin and things like that are almost always getting flagged. Like we're using quotes from our books and things like that. So it's honestly just like normal. I turn in an essay, it's like 30% plagiarized because I use text evidence. And I think that like a lot of students are also often nervous about it because sometimes like those percentages are higher, just variable, especially when you're talking about books and things that have already been written about. So I think I'm definitely excited to look at the way that we're kind of changing the way that we assess AI. And I just want to highlight the fact that at IHS, there's definitely some teachers that are doing a great job at walking students through why AI isn't a tool that can fully replace their learning. I know, especially like looking at English classes and things like that, we've had times where we've sat down and compared like, okay, this is how AI can respond to a prompt like this. This is how students and humans do it. And the level of emotional depth and honestly just humanity that comes through in looking at examples like that, I think does far more for helping students understand why learning is important, even when they can just go on ChatGPT and generate something, than saying that any sort of like touching AI or like using it is going to have which is going to have consequences. Not that it shouldn't, but I think that it's very important that students understand the why behind that. So I just wanted to echo that. I also thought it was really exciting on page 9 of results 2. One of the stats that just jumped out to me a lot was the gap between district total for your graduation and the BIPOC focus group going down from 8.3% to 1.4% in like 2 years. That's such a reduction in that gap. And I know that we've talked a lot about when you're performing so well as a district, like it can be hard to reduce those things. But it went from a group that had like a substantially higher gap than students with disabilities or low income to a lower one, which I just thought was really cool. And then my third thing is in relation to kind of like the fail rates with history and history as a whole. So I, again, just wanted to echo the fact that history having a larger focus on world history is something that I've seen so much excitement around as a student body. I think that when I was a freshman incoming, there was a good amount of frustration with the fact that the further history studies was mainly just like AP European history. And now we've been able to kind of move a little bit more away from that, like primarily European focus. I'm in AP African American Studies right now. At the beginning of the year, all the students went around and shared why they took the class. And almost every answer was, it's just so exciting to see ways that we can delve into these specific pockets in like an AP class that will not only be good for college, but also like critical thinking skills and an understanding of the world. That does bring me to a question though. I know that Vijay was talking about how history at Skyline is like considered really difficult, especially with AP US, or not AP US history, regular US history. At IHS, I think that take this with a grain of salt because this is generally coming from what I'm hearing from students, but that US history, world history, the on-level history courses aren't so much what's concerning or difficult so much as some of the on-level sciences and maths, which I think is also reflected in the graph of the fact that I think only like 66% of students are getting a B- to an A in biology. And I was just wondering if there was any like school specific data or if the struggle with history is district wide, because I know there's also a cultural difference between the STEM and humanities focus at Skyline, Issaquah, and Liberty.
Yeah, so we definitely do look at the data school by school as a leadership team, and we're working just recently on getting more and more data out in the hands of our instructional teams to do some data study protocols. We just went through that as a district-wide professional development to really engage the entire district around this, because it actually is pretty even across the schools, some of the gap areas that we have. And it also does connect with that supporting the ninth grade transition is a really important one for us, because when we talk about biology and world history, those are two ninth grade classes. And that transition from middle school to high school is a difficult transition for some. And so we've really been focused on our strategic plan on that ninth grade transition, which then focuses us again on world history, biology, algebra 1, and ninth grade ELA as those kind of 4 core courses that we want to make sure everybody's off to a success on. So I am hopeful. I haven't gotten a chance yet. Just got the semester 1 data. So I look forward to a data study soon on looking at our ninth grade and courses and some of these courses from our semester 1 data this year, because we're in a regular habit of doing that. And I'm crossing my fingers and really hoping that some of the work that our teachers have been really dedicated to is going to show up in those grades, and I hope to continue to hear from students as well as their quality of experience in those classes as well. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to jump real quick on the AI conversation, because I really appreciate hearing that the idea of cutting through the noise of AI with some clear and simple messaging. So I appreciate that input, and I just wanted to note that and that we hear that and share a few updates on some of the things that have been done that we're excited about. So on our non-student day in January, we did a program with Lenovo, and it really, our keynote on that day really did a great job of speaking to all of our secondary teachers about both the recognizing some of the dangers, like some of the things that teenagers are getting involved in that are not good for the AI, but also the importance of leaning in and guiding students. And we've heard that from our students too, who have reported that the teachers who are helping me figure out how to use AI, I'm not cheating. I'm following their advice. I am using AI appropriately. The teachers who just say don't use AI, I'm more likely to use AI without letting them know. And we've heard that, and I think that's a message that we really want to continue to lean into with our teachers. And to do that, we have started with building up teacher skills in AI. So Colleague AI for Teachers is where we really leaned in first. And we're just launching our Colleague AI for Students with a pilot group of teachers right now, with the hope of that being a mechanism for us to get to very clear and consistent messaging on how to use AI in a safe AI environment, one that's protected so that students aren't risking their identity or their loss of their personal information and property. It will probably continue to be a little messy, but I do appreciate that in the midst of that mess, making sure we're clear and simple about some of the messaging that we want to say is most important. So thank you for your input.
Thank you for entertaining me with the AI conversation. Now I'll move to 2.10. And I think we need to update this language. And I think for me, I would rather it say something like students will apply academic skills to explore career pathways. Because I'm not sure what life situations are. And maybe that predates all of us here. But I think the intent, especially by the superintendent's interpretation, is talking about career or future connected learning. And so I think that our language needs to probably push on that some more. So that would be something that I would love to hear what my board colleagues' reflection is on that.
We say it again, one more time, what you were.
Students will apply academic skills to explore career pathways. I mean, basically, we want all of our students to be able to do career exploration in high school. That's why we are doing so much work that we're doing, besides just the academic things. And I think that would just bring more clarity to it for me, at least, because we go through essentially discipline by discipline. We talk about math, and then we talk about social studies and language arts and the arts. So it just seems like we should really articulate that here. So if that's something that the
Director Coyne.
I would fully agree with that. I mean, I think we've had more conversations around career readiness. It's funny because I reflect on it and I think this is a generational difference. I think this is language from, frankly, when we were going through the system. There weren't the conversations around career readiness that we're having now. And I appreciate the fact that we're having that. And so I think that is clearly language we should be updating. I think this is reflective of the past. What's in here now?
Dr. Mullings?
I think you bring up a very interesting question about this language. And I'm going to agree with you and then give you all the reasons why I don't agree with you. Like in my brain, like what comes up for me, because I'm looking at that wording and then I'm looking at what the evidence is. And maybe it's what I maybe hope that language is saying. It's, of course, I love the career connected piece. I want our students to get more exploration that helps them get hands-on, rule things in, what's possible for them. I love that. I think what is the piece I would love to keep here though, or keep someplace, is sometimes the work in school, we make it so academically focused. What I'm hoping that our students are learning is how to exist in the world, how to debate, how to engage with others, like the pieces about actually building up their skills around resilience and building up their ability to like investigate who they're becoming is what is in that life situations for me. And sometimes I feel like it is through the non-academic that they get to be challenged with some of those things. And like in debate club or forming their business for DECA or some of that sort of exploration. So I fully am on board with what you said about should we be more clear about one of our goals being the career exploration, but I'm also hoping that what this one can call out is like that purely an appreciation of the arts is something that will carry you forward in life situations of understanding culture and language and other things. So you've given me like my own internal debate with that comment.
Yeah, and I would say that in the same way, yes, I think arts are really important. That's why it's included in here. I think career connected learning is also, to me, a foundational skill. And to your point, but that's why we have results 4, and results 4.6 says be resilient, take informed risks, deal constructively with failure, and be flexible and adaptive to change.
Yes.
4.7 says be able to cooperate and collaborate within a diverse group of people in order to attain desired outcomes. So I think that we have a standalone, just as important to us, results about who you are as this is the what you do. And so I think we treat them equally. So for me, I think dividing that out of still saying through the academic lens of here's what you do, because we want career connected learning for every student. I think that just more articulates why we have a 7-period day. It isn't that we want you to take another academic class. Now, if you're geared towards that and you want to take a double up on math or double up on science because that's your passion, then that's great. For the overwhelming majority of our students, we want to see exploration. And I think the more we can articulate it here, I think that would be important signaling for our community and our school district leaders. But that's just me. I don't know what, I'd be curious what our newest member thinks about all this.
Well, I was looking at 2.1 and thought you had lost your mind. So I apologize. Now looking at the actual, yes, 2.10, that makes sense to me for all the reasons that you said. Yes.
So I think that this is largely sorry.
Nope, I'm done. Go ahead.
I think this is largely a good dovetail conversation that I think that the board wishes to have around policy discussion around the results in particular, through the lens of the work that was done on the portrait of a graduate. And so I think that as we bring this, I think that's a natural dovetail point to have that conversation and also expand on that even more, because I think it might spark further dialogue around how do we then see this overlay. And as we consider the next high school programming, it all kind of comes at that connection point. So I appreciate hearing that connection. And I think this is sort of older language, I think. In 2.10, which in my brain was 2.10. But yes, I went to 2.1 as well. I'm looking for a 0.
Yes. Anything else at this time? Oh, the day, yes.
So about the BIPOC focus group, sorry, I lost it. I just had some questions about like what that entailed, because seeing as they closed the gap so much in the last couple of years. So I was just wondering like what happened and like how many people does that include? Just so that I can is what happened in that group being applied to more students?
Yeah. So our BIPOC focus group is a way of us having a metric for disproportionality based on race. So it combines 4 groups that have predictable disproportionality in our outcome data. So that includes African American, includes Hispanic, includes Pacific Islander, and it includes Native American. Altogether, it is, I want to say, around 15% of our district. Okay, so 225 graduates, somewhere around there. And I think I'm missing one of the questions you asked.
Yeah, I think I just kind of misunderstood it. I thought it was a small group of people, a focus group, but I think it's the entirety of those populations. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And then just one other question, sorry, about what Ava said about maybe breaking the data down by school. I would even wager to see if even more specific, by teacher maybe. I know I've about alignment. This is about the US history and the world history. The alignment can be a large issue for a lot of students at Skyline, at least, where a lot of students feel like the workload in one course is substantially more than the other. And that at least I know at Skyline, there are some history teachers that assign a lot more work than others, and that might also be a reason why, which you wouldn't be able to see at the school level, but maybe at the teacher level that you could see maybe that's causing some of the issues. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. And certainly when we are reviewing the data on a regular basis at the school level, we do have that information that is by teacher, by period, by student group. And it is so that our school leaders and our teacher leaders can look at that data collaboratively to problem solve. It can be really grounding for a teacher to see it too. Oh, my data looks different than other similar courses that my colleagues are teaching. For the purposes of this report, because it is so public and district-wide, we tend to not drill down to that level, but we are doing that in our regular practice at the building level.
Superintendent, did you have?
Yeah, so I do want to just add a couple things and just appreciation because this work would not happen without many, many people. I know we talked about the incredible work of our teachers, but we have a lot of other additional supports that provide the kind of ongoing bolstering, right, of the educational experience for young people. Our district-wide executive academic cabinet team and the teams that they lead just do incredible work to help provide that support to buildings, but specifically the push really comes by our building leaders and their teams. So Principal Aaron Connolly, Principal Andrew Brownson, and Principal Keith Hennig, and Principal Tanya Reichel just really help lead that charge in their buildings because at the end of the day, it is a sprint, right, to move towards that last part of the high school career and making sure our students have what they need to get to that finish line. And just thank you to Sherry Cox for her leadership and leading those teams of people because I think that's important to know that that's the support that they get.
Great. Okay, I think we're at the point for an advisory vote from our students. Stephen, can you cue that up for us? Ooh, very, very rapid results. Gonna refresh. Let's see. 8. Wow. Great. The results are in. All in favor. Fantastic. Okay. We have a motion to accept the monitoring report for results 2, academics and foundations, as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the results are unanimous. Great. Moving on in our agenda, it is now time, before 8 o'clock even, for legislative matters. Do we have anything in the legislative realm, Director Anderson?
Well, first, I would like to publicly recognize and thank Martin Turney for his dedicated work in communicating with our legislators and advocating for our school district. His deep understanding of how our legislative decisions impact our school make his advocacy especially meaningful. He consistently represents our district during their legislative sessions, and I greatly appreciate the thoughtful outreach he provides. Oh, he is in the room. Okay. His efforts deserve to be acknowledged.
We're not all leaving, no.
So thank you. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate you advocating for the district. Just some updates. We have the substitute House Bill 2257. That did pass the House Finance Committee, but there's a push to get the bill moving out of the Rules Committee and onto the House floor before the February 17th cutoff. So that was one thing that Martin was communicating and advocating with all of our legislators to get that bill movement to prevent that $1.4 million in taxes that the ISD would be impacted by. House Bill 2432 and substitute Senate Bill 6222, the surplus technology. The House bill went to the Rules Committee on February 4th, and the Senate bill passed 49 votes to 0. So that's moving along. And then the MSOC funding, which is Senate Bill 5918, was referred to Ways and Means on February 4th. So making some progress in this short session, keeping an eye on everything.
Great.
So that's where we're at.
Director Gallinger.
Yep. I went to represent our school district at the NSBA Advocacy Institute last week-ish. And there's 2 things I want to update the board on. One was something I never heard about, but it was passed as part of the big omnibus bill last summer, which is a federal tax credit of $1,700 for education. Our state hasn't adopted it or opted in. Half of the states have. And I was surprised to have not heard about it yet. So when I asked for our Washington delegation to sort of come, like, all talks among themselves and get a sense on where they are with that. But for us in in our community, it would be people could donate directly to the school's foundation. School's foundation would be donating money for mentorship, after school supports, technology. All those things are a 1-for-1 tax credit through what we already has an existing 501c3 structure. Now, not every community in our state has that. And so, but I don't think that's a good reason to not adopt it as a state. So I do think that once we get landscape from the rest of the delegation in the state of Washington, we probably need to lean into that for a conversation with our regional colleagues. Because I think all of our East King County schools could benefit because they all have existing structures that already exist to be able to leverage those dollars that would benefit the community directly and our students. We're waiting on 2 pieces of guidance. One is in the federal rulemaking. It isn't been made clear if public school students could benefit. So that's it would be an important carve in. And then 2 would be like, how will you actually monitor the distribution of funds and the accountability piece? Those are the 2 important questions that have been raised that have not been answered federally yet. So this would take effect January 1 of 2027. But again, I was surprised that I had not heard about that at all. So wanted to say that's one learning I had. The second one I had is one of the.
Ask you, sorry, before you move on, sorry to interrupt. Would you be willing to approach Tricia with the school's foundation on that? With this, I don't know if you already have or not, because then my next piece would be, I'd be fascinated if the National Schools Foundation, if they have an approach, what their opinion is on it too, and she could open that connection point. So just throw that out there. I don't know if you've already talked to her or not.
Yeah, I wasn't going to till I found out what the Washington delegation thought, because I don't want to approach something and then like,
sure,
well, the door is not open in our state. Period.
I would be, yeah.
But
no,
the
that
national one,
makes
certainly there's already 26 states that have opted in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, and I could go back to my connection points with the National Schools Foundation because used to be on it, and see what their approach is with it. Be curious, yeah. So, interesting.
So I thought that was fascinating. Yeah. And then the second thing is that one of the keynotes was from public health and showed a linear like correlation, presumably, about the air quality inside of a school building and student performance. And so what immediately came to my mind was OE 17, for which we don't have a lot of like, what is the data going to be? So it was the schools that met the standard for indoor air quality, which we had lengthy conversation when we entered COVID about how often our room exchanges are, and we were meeting that standard. But I don't know if that was a temporary basis or if we've kept our HVAC systems to that. But 5 exchanges an hour and or certain filtration was associated with the best academic outcomes for kids.
Oh, fascinating.
And I was like, wow, just another way which it's just we have an unfair advantage, but our community has invested in really updated buildings and updated equipment. That's another reason why these levels are so important, because that there's this association between academic performance and air quality. So it was crazy. So I'm going to request that slide deck from that presenter, and then I will forward it on to Heather and the rest of the board. But those are the 2 learnings that I had from that conference that I wanted to share.
Thank you. Anything else on legislative matters? Okay, not hearing anything. Announcements and correspondence. Opportunity for the board members to add any other correspondence anyone's received or want to talk about? No? Hearing none? Okay. Oh, I guess it is time now for calendaring. Am I correct? Yes. Future agenda topics and calendaring. Let's see, we have it here. I have it here somewhere. Hold on. Whole bunch of things to talk about calendaring wise. Do we want to start with the state of the city breakfast? We have a date on the state of the city breakfast.
Yes, the Say the City breakfast is at East Ridge Church. It's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. You'll have this is for the state of the city for Issaquah, and you'll have newly elected Mayor Mark Mullet, Chief of Police Paula Schwan, and myself speaking. So we want to make sure that's on board members' radars. If they can attend, that's great. But if there's more than 3 or more, that we would notice that as well.
I will
And-
be there,
So I didn't hear the date.
the 26th of February,
February
26th of February from 7:30 to 9
Is
a.m.
that what this is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm tentative. I'd like to attend, but it's, so I'm tentative.
I'm a no.
6th of February.
Maybe lean yes.
I'm a no.
1 yes, 2 tentatives with a variation of 1 tentative lead yes.
So do you
Great.
notice or not? Yeah. Well,
We will, once we get that confirmation on the tentatives, we will notice. And then we'll also sign people up too, and but that's a practical matter.
Can I just ask a practical question?
You may.
It feels like we're I guess noticing more things than I remember us doing historically. Is there a reason? Yes, we may all be in the same place, but I thought the issue was if we are discussing the business of the district, which we wouldn't be. So I guess I just want to maybe understand. It seems like we're noticing more than we have done.
I believe 3 or quorum, 3 or more is a public meeting, so we do have to notice of an assembly, but we don't have to make a motion if there's no business being conducted to attend.
So I think we decide to over notice, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I don't think we have to notice assembly for social reasons. But I think we've chosen to do that recently. I don't recently meaning over the course of the past couple of years.
Yeah, because like the state of the city as an example, wouldn't we may all be present, but we're not assembling. We don't have any part of the agenda. There is nothing for us to do but be physically in the same place. It was like, I think it was a similar one on like,
I think it's because you're attending in the role of your capacity as a board member is more the thing, but a purely social, we don't notice.
but I live in Issaquah, like why? I guess we should take a look at it because I've seen stuff lately just in general. Like if I'm not going to notice to anybody if I happen to walk into IHS to the basketball game. Like we all end up at football games at the same place. It's a strange where I do not have the agenda. So the state of the city breakfast, I am actually not there in my capacity as a school board member because I can't act as a school board member at this event. I happen to be a school board member, but there's nothing about my capacity in governance or policy making that will be engaged in. So it just seems like we're doing a little extra on this one.
I wonder if the distinction is where you show up as a board member. So I always think about it kind of where I show up with my badge. So I probably would show up with this with my badge, and I would show up as a
badge,
board
so that's a bad example.
Well, no, but I would. But I think there are other things maybe where I wouldn't. So I think it's it's like, for instance, I've always wondered, like with this West Schools Foundation, like many of us are major donors and we would naturally go to these events, but then we still have to notice. And I would yes, I show up as a board member there, but technically I'm there because I'm a donor and I'm a supporter, and so
right.
I think there's a gray area, but I guess that's how I've always thought about it. If I'm showing up representing myself as a board member versus a community member, I don't know.
And the thing is, I just feel like we've gone a little, the pendulum swung a little over on the notice CC side. I won't be at this one. We can go on.
Next.
I do want to add that we are putting these also more on the sort of calendar topic, just to make sure board members are aware, but also it's helpful for the public to see the ways in which the board, have opportunities to engage. So we can take note about the noticing topic, but this is also important to show the ways in which board members are engaging with the community as well.
Next up is the Issaquah Schools Foundation Impact in Action event, Wednesday, March 4th, 6 to 7 p.m. I think that's already on my calendar, so I think I'm there.
I'm a yes too.
I'm a yes.
I won't be able to make this one. I'd love this one though.
Maybe.
With a lean, one way or the other? No leaning? No leaning. Okay. Next, 5-chamber breakfast. Which 5 chambers?
The 5 chambers include Sammamish, Issaquah, Newcastle, Snoqualmie Valley,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and Mercer Island.
Interesting.
Oh, and Bellevue. I'm sorry, Mercer Island, scratch that, Bellevue.
Oh, I don't think that's what I can.
These are regular events that they host, and just, again, just an opportunity to.
Yep.
I'm a maybe on that one.
I'm a no.
I'm a maybe. Can you put it on my calendar and see what happens?
Roll
Also,
dice.
maybe.
Well, okay, thank you for all that. We will be confirming with you individually because there's a registration process and a fee, and we want to make sure that we are in good standing there.
Okay, senior exit interviews. Liberty High, March 18th, Skyline, April 1st, Issaquah High, April 8th. I think we all got emails on this as well.
I haven't seen the one on Liberty. I confirmed for Skyline and Issaquah. I know Skyline, I think because it conflicts, I can only do the first hour. But Liberty, I haven't seen anything. So if there's an opportunity to get that from Liberty, that'd be great. Cause I'd love to participate in that one too.
I thought the one from Skyline said 7, start at 7.
I think there's like 7:30, like the training. I think they do the, and then that's how I interpreted it. And then it was like 8 to 9 is the interviews.
I just was more in case anyone know that the email that came out said 7. So.
Oh, sure.
I think I need maybe by person or by event so I can, and then I'll get you registered.
I'd like to do all 3.
So yes to Skyline for the first hour because then we have retreat. Yes to Liberty afternoon.
As a reminder, the morning time on the 18th, there in the midday points, it's opportunities to engage on the digital promise topics. So that's a reminder on that morning.
And then no to Issaquah.
Emily, as of right now, I can only do Issaquah.
I can, oh, sorry, go ahead. I can do Liberty afternoon. Right now, I think if there's another evening one, I could probably do, but the morning ones I can't, at least not right now.
I missed the distinction on Liberty, the morning versus the afternoon. What was it?
And the morning of
Oh,
March
but it's the same thing.
18th.
It's just exit interviews, 2 opportunities.
2 opportunities.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard that something else was happening.
Well, there's like you said there was a 7 PM that came out for one of them.
Oh, no, 7 a.m. first.
Oh, it's 7 AM for Skyline. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
The morning of March 18th was my point, Director Mullings, that there's the digital promise convening and there's a opportunity for board members to attend that morning time frame. So that's why I was noting that as a conflict potentially for board members.
That's what I heard. I was like, there was something else said about the 2 times.
I believe they've locked in a speaker from Microsoft at 8:30 to do that keynote welcome. Yep.
So for me, I should be able to do Liberty High School, the 3 to 5. The first is our retreat day, correct? I don't have that.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna get to Skyline at 7 in the morning. So, and then we'll do Issaquah High, yes, on the 8th. So yes to Liberty, yes to Issaquah, no Skyline.
And Emily, just to clarify, I'll do the Liberty, but the afternoon.
I might be able to Liberty after. Okay. Moving on. Scheduling city, PTSA, and ISF engagements. Are there particular ones we need to, or just all, right? We want a city, is that City of Issaquah connection?
So Right now, we have Issaquah Schools Foundation,
Oh, this is the only one here. I see.
and we are in talks with City of Issaquah.
Okay, got it. So the question is, would Wednesday, March 11th work for us?
Where are we?
It should work.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, it's a board
Oh, yeah.
meeting.
Oh, it's right before. Yeah, of course.
It's just, it'd
We
be
had
our
to
work
move-
It would be our
study
work
time.
study before board meeting at
Yeah,
five
that
PM.
works.
Yeah,
We've
this
moved-
one's on a Wednesday in March.
We did that, but we did an engagement. I think our last engagement with ISF.
This was so the March 11th/12 is the weather makeup day situation. So no weather makeup days so far, knock on wood. So the board meeting will be on Wednesday, the 11th.
No matter what.
No,
Yeah.
if we have a weather makeup day,
Could go to
then
Thursday.
it shifts to Thursday.
Okay.
If it's on Wednesday, I will not be able to attend. That's the Skyline Senior Parent Meeting.
Hmm. Okay. So do we need a motion?
I move the board schedule an engagement meeting with the leadership team of the Issaquah Schools Foundation on Wednesday, March 11, 2026 at 5 PM in the ISD Administration Center Boardroom. If we have a weather makeup day on Friday, March 13, the meeting will move to Thursday, March 12th.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, just on that one, if there's a note that if it moves, actually, I won't be at either date, the
Oh,
11th or the 12th. I won't, yeah, I'm in DC.
okay. Be all the newbies on the board, holding down the fort. I know.
Yeah, we
Yes.
will, so yes, we'll need firm confirmation from you two that you will be here.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Why wouldn't be? I think so. I think I blocked them out, all options on, both options on my calendar.
Yeah, I'm good too.
No double
I've got
check.
it blocked. Okay, 2026 Student Summit, Tuesday, March 24th from 10 AM to 2 PM at Gibson Eck. I am out of town.
And
What is that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what is the student summit? Right?
It's our Students of Color and Excellence Summit.
Oh. Good too.
I will not be there this year, but I did agree to pre-record something for the summit, yeah.
Yeah. Did we get everyone? Did anyone else?
I don't think I can make that
I
work.
don't think I can make it work either.
Oh, no. Okay, last then is the WASDA District Area 2 meeting at Tahoma. Wednesday, April 29th. Hope we can make this, all of us. 6 to 8. I think I'm here.
That should work.
Yep.
What's
I'm
the
good.
date? The 29th? Yes, I can make that work.
I think I can.
Tahoma School District Boardroom.
Maple Valley.
I think we have enough. We need a motion though.
I move the board attend the WASDA District Area 2 meeting on Wednesday, April 29th, 2026, 6 to 8 PM at the Tahoma School District Boardroom in Maple Valley, Washington.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order?